Hi, Fernando. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Thomas. Nice to meet you too.
So, can you please share with us your story? What's your interest in psychiatric medications and what drives you here to participate in my podcast?
Sure, it started a long time ago, actually, when I was 16. My father was a neurosurgeon, a neurologist, but he also received people who were looking for psychiatrists, but they didn't know actually the difference between a neurologist, a psychiatrist. And so he asked a friend uh, who was a psychiatrist teacher, if he could teach him about psychiatry. And so he started making a group study. And I got into this. When I was 16, I started. He had a phenomenologic basis. He had already some critique about what he called the American psychiatrist.
Hmm.
He used more like tricyclic antidepressants, like imipramine, the older ones, and he was critical of Prozac by the time, fluoxetine, but uh, it was only so far his critic. And then I got into med school to try to be a psychiatrist. I wanted to work with this. But when I got into the med school, I got very disappointed with the environment, with the way people looked at medicine, at the way they thought about treating people. And I went away and I went to do a bachelor in arts, in letters, literature,
And may I
and
ask you
many.
what specifically discouraged you? Like, what did you saw there when you were studying medicine? What make you feel that it's a wrong way to go?
Yeah, well, I could write a whole book on this because there is something. I don't know if this happens in Poland or in other places. I suppose so. Like those things in the United States about fraternities.
Hmm.
We have something which is called a troche, and they um I don't even know how can I explain this, but the newcomers, they are humiliated in many ways. They are physically abused, like if it was in the army, something like this. Uh, because
Like bullying
yeah,
newcomers in high school, in gymnasium, in elementary school.
yes, yeah, I think because there is a hierarchy, very well established, and so the purpose is to make you be humiliated, and then after it ends, you are integrated like one of them, and that's a corporate feeling, a very strong corporate feeling about you being a doctor, and you also covering up for one of the older students told me this. He said, you are the one who is going to cover up for your colleagues' mistakes or negligences. So there's a corporate feeling very strong, and it's like something against patients.
Hmm.
It's a very arrogant, snobbish place, environment. And here in Brazil, the medical profession is it's surrounded by this elitist feeling about people feeling superior to others,
Hmm.
and they like to be called doctors and things like this. Uh, so it was really something that I found very oppressive. The environment, the way people behaved, the way people act, and the way they thought about their profession, their social role as doctors, as physicians.
Okay, and okay, so you decided to follow your own path as a psychoanalyst.
Yes, I actually many years later, because when I was studying psychiatry, this guy, he was called Onofre Marques. He was psychiatrist teacher, and he said that psychoanalysis was like a religion. It was not scientifically based. Those things you know already.
Yeah, but
And
I
so
distinguish between Adler and Freud. The it's all in your past, or you have to take responsibility for your actions and move on with your life. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like that. Uh, the critic from Karl Popper, he
Hmm.
endorsed it very much, that psychoanalysis didn't have a scientific base, so it couldn't be taken seriously. And I've carried this with me for many years until I started doing my own psychoanalytical treatment. I was already taking antidepressants by that time,
Oh.
because my father, he always insisted, "Oh, you should take some pills. You were a little uh, apathetic, sad." And so one day he convinced me, because I had migraines, and he said, "Oh, you know what is good for migraines? These tricyclic antidepressants." So I started taking. Uh, but actually, the weird part is that I spent many years taking it. I've never really felt any difference. It was that thing. Do you feel better? Oh, maybe I think so. I'm not sure. And when I stopped, I went to this venlafaxine stick, and when I quit it, I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. I quit it cold turkey. I didn't know anything about withdrawal by that time. It was by 2017 I quit uh, everything, and by that time I was already studying psychoanalysis, and I had by the time I decided to stop the antidepressants is when I found Robert Whitaker's Anatomy of an Epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
That changed my perspective. I was already a little critic, but reading
Did
that
you
was
did you
like a bomb.
experience any like protracted withdrawal, or did you do the hyperbolic tapering, or did you cold turkey the meds like?
No, it was weird because I did it like cold turkey, um, or semi cold turkey. Like I was taking 100 milligrams, I went to 50 and
Yeah,
then zero.
reduced by
And
half
by that
dose,
time,
like standard typical approach from the medical healthcare provider.
yes, yes. And I decided I should take a conscient placebo. Like, let's take something. I went in the internet and decided to take some tea, some herbal tea for depression,
Uh,
just so that I had something to rely on. Um,
mhm.
but I didn't really believe that was making any difference.
And
So I
what
started.
kind of herb was it? May I ask? Like, because sometimes they are still potent. I mean, like Saint John Wort, like ashwagandha, they do crush people from the withdrawal community. So maybe it wasn't just a placebo.
It was something we. It was rosemary tea,
Oh, okay. So it maybe maybe it was actually. Yeah.
but yeah, that's like I just. It's weird because many years later I heard an interview with Irving Kirsch, who
Mhm.
studies placebo effect, and he said that they made some experiments and that people who take placebo, even knowing that it is a placebo, it has some effect.
Yeah,
And that's
placebo
what I
works, of course. Like even though it doesn't work on physiological level, it does work on psychological level, for
Yeah,
sure.
but even if you know that it's a placebo, I'm taking a placebo.
It's still better than antidepressants, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Um, so that's it, and I had some very um, difficult experiences in my life. Like I had a girlfriend who took several psychic meds. She was diagnosed as borderline by the psychiatrist, and she was never fine. By that time, I thought maybe, oh, the meds are not working so much. She needs to change. I don't know. And she ended committing suicide. And so only now I look back and I think maybe the meds were worsening
Yeah.
her 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 feelings and the way she had night terrors and things which were very difficult to deal with. And so those things made me go into this path of working with psychoanalysis, and more recently to want to work with withdrawal.
So basically, it's based on your lived experience with psych meds and all the stories. So like many of us who were harmed, and now we're trying to help others navigating this challenging period. So, but I'm glad that you are okay. You managed to overcome the withdrawals and the whole story with your antidepressant. Like, and how long are you completely off the psych meds? Like, when was it when you discontinued?
It was like 2017, so almost 10 years now.
Okay,
And I didn't really experience any withdrawal effects.
okay,
So I only got in touch with this thing that withdrawal is very can be very severe and long lasting when I started more recently to listen to testimonies. I've read Brooke Thiem book. I saw you interviewed her, May Call Side Effects, and now I'm reading Laura Delano's book Unshrunk. And so these testimonies, they are very powerful
yeah,
to understand how dangerous it can be
yeah,
withdrawal effects. And
yeah.
I started making content for social media, and people come and they on the comments.
For in
Many
Brazil,
people,
like for people like for the community in Brazil specifically.
yes, yes, because there are mixed comments. There are people who come and defend, say, "Oh, you're a criminal. You shouldn't say that. This
Same
match
here.
saved my life."
Same
And
experience.
things
Like
like,
they told me that who the fuck are you to tell that those
yeah, and especially they say, "Oh, you're not a doctor. You should." The other day, someone told me you should let real doctors speak about this. So I posted a clip of Joanna Moncrief. I said, "Oh, let the real doctors speak then."
yeah, yeah,
But there are other people who share their experiences being hurt by those meds, the awful effects it had on them, the way they weren't heard by their
yeah,
psychiatrists, who didn't care about
yeah,
the side effects, the withdrawal effects. And this withdrawal team, it's really something that it doesn't exist in Brazil. People do not talk about it. Psychiatrists do not know about it. I know I have my father is now a psychiatrist. My brother, my older brother, is a psychiatrist,
oh.
and they have no idea that um, withdrawal can be severe, can
Yeah.
be a real problem.
But the problem with the protracted withdrawal is that we still don't know the etiology of it. And I mean, there are cases, I know them personally, who took antidepressants for many years and quit using the, let's say, fast tapering, and they are fine. Like yourself, like you took maybe not so, but you were fine after quitting. Like I quit, I was fine for a few months, and then the protracted withdrawal hit me for the next 6 years, and I was totally disabled. I couldn't function at all. Like all I was thinking about was to end my life. On the other hand, my girlfriend, she quit uh, paroxetine after 6 years of use, and she did this, like, let's say I would consider like fast tapering, and she's fine, and it didn't have any effect on her, like on physical and psychological levels. So this is, we still don't know the statistics, how many people are affected by the protracted withdrawal and how many are fine. But this is something that still bothers me, and I'm very curious as a neuroscientist, like what's going on inside the nervous system, that in some cases they can be severely disabilitated, and in other cases they're just simply fine. And what's your opinion about it? Like what do you think about this bias in withdrawal effects from various people? Like,
Yeah, it's interesting because the argument that most psychiatrists say is that, oh, it can't be the drug because it's out of your system,
yeah,
so it's not the drug, it's already that's it. We know we don't know exactly what it is, but we know that something is deeply disturbed in your brain because of the drugs, right? So uh, I've seen that recently came out two important papers. One that was led by Mark Horowitz,
Mm-hmm.
which they took 310 people in the NHS services, and they interviewed those people about withdrawal effects, and they got to the conclusion like after 2 years taking antidepressants, I don't, I'm not sure, but I believe it was 79%
Yeah, I
of
heard about
people.
80% of people are suffering from long-lasting consequences, and I also read it. But I'm curious about etiology. Why is it that the 20% of them are just can get away with it and they are fine? It's not that I'm jealous. Well, maybe a little bit I'm jealous because I was suffering tremendously. But the point is that like what's going on here? Like on is it on genetic level, like the metabolism of the drug, or is it the iatrogenic disruption, and somebody can just simply move on with their lives being like free of the meds? And yeah, but you're right. Like I read that paper as well, and also there is a study from surviving antidepressants, which the median of the recovery process is around 37 months. So typically, this is how long the protracted withdrawal lasts, and you know,
37 months, so
yeah.
3 years.
So consider you lucky if you get away with psych meds like so easy, and you can focus on, on your mission. But yeah, but really like
Yeah, and I took this venlafaxine, which
which is very
Mark
potent
Horowitz.
and has nasty side effects when you are tapering even, and acute withdrawals, the brain zaps because it's SNRI, so it's a very potent drug to come off. So yeah, but
Yeah, and I helped a few patients. One of my patients, he was taking venlafaxine,
mm-hmm.
and he took it for 1 year, not not that much. And when he we started to take it off, he had brain zaps, he had nausea, he had many side effects. And I don't think that we'll find it easily. What's the etiology? Because to find, we would need many researchers
Yeah.
and an investment, so
Investments,
funding, right?
researches, post-mortem studies, and tons of grants for the study. But yeah,
Yes, and we are against the grain.
yeah, we're
Uh,
still trying to figure out what's the etiology of PSSD. Like we have only one study from the Malkangi research group, but it's starting somewhere. Like I remember when I was trying to quit antidepressants like many years ago, there was still like zero awareness about PSSD, about protracted withdrawal. So we're heading the right direction, that's for sure. But it will take a lot of time to to get there. But
yeah, I noticed that it's now there are many people talking about this, and I think it's not a coincidence that just came out on the 9th of July, this study in JAMA, which is like a propaganda for big pharma, saying that there is not withdrawal. They call it a discontinuation
this,
syndrome,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. This is not
They
nice way
they
to put the suffering. Yeah, yeah,
Mm. And it's so I think there's gonna be much more drawback, and they're going to try to silence people who are talking, who are studying this
yeah.
topics, these
Or
things,
like, yeah, that's
and they have a lot of money to do it.
and it's all in the end. It's all about money to who can bribe the pharmaceutical companies and all this industry. But it's great that we already have like in US especially we have Horowitz, we have with During, so it's a good start, and we have Med in America. So and what about situation in Brazil? Like I believe you're not there yet. Like we're in Poland still not aware like about protracted and about the consequences of long-term antidepressants use or benzodiazepines use. So how is the situation in Brazil?
I think it's curious because in Brazil we had, like, in the 70s, in the 80s, a very strong movement against the asylums, the mental institutions,
Mm-hmm.
which was inspired by Franco Basaglia and the anti-psychiatry movement. And this was very important, so that we had like um, a public mental health system which is based on communities. It doesn't work because it lacks money, it lacks funding, but the idea is that it's based on territories, and there are multidisciplinary teams which have psychologists, psychiatrists, and other professionals of
Hmm.
many. And so that's very interesting. But what I find very disturbing is that this um, opposition to mental institutions did not translate to an opposition against the medicalization of people. So there are some researchers, especially at Fiocruz, which is uh, mainly Paulo Amarante and the late Fernando Freitas, who they did the Med in Brazil, which is our affiliate to Med in
Yeah,
America.
I know we're about to launch Med in Poland, like so. Same here. Yeah.
So these guys, they do an incredible work, and they bring Robert Whitaker, they bring people here to talk about it. But it's like they are shouting in the desert, because the medical profession, I don't know people who recognize there is an withdrawal effect. There is, so they are very. It's very rare that you even see psychologists who know their work and who talk about this thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and this is very challenging for people who are in protracted or in tapering, because when they go to psychotherapists and they tell them that okay, I don't feel anything, I have numbness, my emotional are numb, I'm suicidal, and they unconsciously they subconsciously they gaslight you into making you believe that this is like underlying condition, this is a recurring depression or this trauma response or something. But the truth is that it's just withdraw from the psych meds, and of course it can be combination of both. But on top of that, I assume most likely this is the most challenging symptom is that in the first place are withdrawal from the meds, and then when you recover or stabilize in the protracted withdrawal, you can take care of the other underlying conditions like a trauma. But this is challenging for like both psychiatrists, psychotherapists, and especially for all the patients with meds injuries. So yeah.
yes, yes. I'm studying. I have a friend who is a doctor, and he did it on the research. His story, I'm gonna make it short, but he had a cancer, and he decided he would not do the traditional treatments, the chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and he researched, and he found this scientist, this American scientist called Ray Peat. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Hmm.
And he has some very interesting things about. He discusses the role of our metabolic health. So he goes from the cellular level to
Yeah.
understanding the whole body. And he talks a lot about serotonin, the the toxic the toxic role of serotonin in our bodies.
Hmm.
And he also goes to the point where he makes some hypotheses about metabolic dysfunctions that could lead to mental, what he called brain syndromes, like
Hmm.
schizophrenia or psychotic.
Yeah, like the gut-brain axis is deeply involved in the psychiatric diseases or illnesses, but most likely it's from my perspective, and also like the Malkanki research team is most likely the dysbiosis or some issues with the microbiota. So I think right now we're shifting our attention from the serotonin hypothesis and trying to figure out like maybe this is something going on in your guts, something going on in like with inflammation. And I think what you're saying is quite similar to the that hypothesis.
Yeah, I think that we need to go to try to establish a more holistic way to see the body and mind, not this.
Yeah,
We have this
it's not only
traditional
about the
perspective
brain. It's
separate,
also yeah, yeah,
and like our social interactions, the our life purposes, like things like isolation, social isolation. These are so important factors that affect not only our mood but our bodies,
yeah.
the way it works. So I think we should try to, and it's ironic because this uh, serotonin hypothesis, it led to uh, a psychopharmacology that is extremely toxic, uh, and it's the opposite, the opposite of what we are should be looking for. Yeah,
And
I think that's
especially
the main challenge because if it was a scientific matter, the serotonin hypothesis was disproved by the
yeah,
60s. It was
yeah,
that's it. Like this JAMA article, they have money, so they make the information prevail, which
yeah.
they want.
If you pay, you
You know?
can publish everything. I mean, with
Yes,
money, the same. Like you can buy an article in New York Times, in Washington Post. It's you can, you know. So
and that's sometimes I think it's the most difficult, the most challenging thing to discuss with people because people tell me, "Oh, why are all the doctors wrong? You are right, but every psychiatrist I meet is wrong. So why is that?" And then I try to explain, no, there's something, there's a financial thing going on, and even the med schools, their curriculum, like Rockefeller here in Brazil, Rockefeller shaped the medical school curriculum in the early 90s.
yes, and that's how I was taught when I had classes from psychiatry. I was taught about the chemical imbalance, how serotonin works for your mood, and all this stuff. And I believed it, of course. Like why wouldn't I when I trust in authority? And my lecturer was also taught the same way in studies, and he was comparing mental illnesses to diabetes. That you need to take meds like you take insulin. This is the old fashioned comparison, but it's
Yes, and for you, it was the your protected withdrawal that made you doubt what you had learned in.
yeah, I had to learn in the painful way. I mean, I of course during my recovery I was relapsing many times. I was gaslighted to take, okay, you have recurring anxiety or social phobia or whatever, and you need to take meds, you need to go back to meds. But then I found surviving antidepressants, and I had no doubts that it was psych meds withdrawals, not my recurring depression or whatever. So it's like I learned the most painful way you can imagine. But
Yes, I've heard something which uh, I found very strong in an interview with Mark Horowitz. Actually, it was a webinar from Outro Health. He said, I had six degrees, university degrees, and one PhD in how the med works. But when I had to go through my withdrawal, the person who helped me was a retired TI
yeah,
person from.
Adolf Framer from the surviving antidepressants. Yeah, and my Mark Horowitz is still tapering Lexapro. Like he's still in the tapering process of escitalopram, and and this is crazy. I mean, you can have PhD from whatever, but
No, we need to challenge like the normal. Do not trust authority. I think
yeah,
that's a good
yeah, you have to.
lesson.
But it's difficult because when I realized that I cannot trust authority, it was very stressful for me to trust again the doctor. Like I needed to have a heart surgery, so I needed to trust a cardiosurgeon in that matter. I couldn't operate myself, but I started to having trust issues. Come on, because I was injured by the meds, but in the end, I genuinely believe that those doctors, most of them had a good intentions of helping me, and they did believe in they really believed in the chemical imbalance theory, and that those meds are safe to be taken for like few years. But
Yeah,
then
the
I
thing
started.
is that they are in a very comfortable position
Yeah,
because I see that in my family. The the companies, they they pay travels and fees to the Congress, to the, they give like, they are in a place where they are respected. Most of their patients also believe there's this theory, so they are very grateful, and they say, oh, it's, this is very good, and so it's very hard, I think, for someone to challenge their own beliefs when there's, they are in such a nice position in society, right?
Yeah, you
uh,
spent like 10 years of your life studying and getting trying to get this degree, and now you're the only tool you have in your work is to prescribe psychiatric meds, and now you have to say, okay, I was harming people and I was prescribing drugs that they have like long lasting consequences, and I basically maybe made many people, take their own lives because of the withdrawals, and it's difficult to admit it, especially when money comes into play and you get a lot of
so
money.
I think it's very difficult for people to go out of this if they don't go through the
Mhm.
withdrawal by themselves, or they don't see someone, um because we have a saying in Portuguese that it's like, if you have a hammer, everything is a nail. So what they know is they know how to prescribe.
Yeah.
How, what else do they know? Yeah, I face this in my practice as a
Yeah.
clinician. I think, I have people who I think I can help with the tools that I have. But
Hmm.
sometimes I think the tools that I have are not appropriate for that kind of issue, for that person.
Yes.
And I think, that's the idea. Sometimes people, they live with their practice. So they're not saying, oh, okay, go away. They are trying to do what they with the tools they have.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think that that's not very ethical or honest, because
You cannot
you have
help
to work.
everyone, and sometimes you have to say that, okay, I can't help you, and it's
Yes.
not all about money. It's about, just you need to provide value, and sometimes they just don't benefit, and it's okay. I mean, yeah.
And there's this thing that many of our mental health issues are consequences of social problems like unemployment, loneliness,
Yeah.
uh, everything, poverty. And so sometimes it's important to recognize these things, and that we have limits to what we can do in a therapeutic
Yeah, of course, you,
setting.
you cannot find a job for somebody, like you're not a hire recruiter. So it's
Yes.
like, yeah, and just it's challenging, like, and I also struggle with this because many of my clients, they're struggling with getting a job because of the withdrawals, and they are just bedridden, and it's sometimes just simply cannot afford any support. So I was like that as well, like in my recovery, when I didn't get, I couldn't work, I didn't have any support, I couldn't afford any support. So it's a challenging stuff to do, and sometimes it's harsh, true, but of course, it's if you have finances, you can, it's easier to deal with things, basically.
Yeah, that's something Laura Delano always points out. She says that if she didn't have the support, I think it was her aunt or her uncle that supported her through her withdrawal, she wouldn't have made it, because she couldn't work. So if you don't have sometimes someone that can support you,
Yeah,
it's
I
impossible.
was at a very similar place. Like I was living from my savings, and I the only support I had, it was like one guy from the PSSD community. He was just there for me, and he was listening to all my suicidal talk, trash talk about ending this. And if it wasn't him, I think I wouldn't be here today, because he was the only my virtual friend. I mean, I didn't have any contact with my parents because they couldn't stand me the way I was in the withdrawal, and I couldn't manage any social life. So I was like totally in total isolation. It drove me into like I would say like close to psychotic experience, because it's the deprivation from other social interactions is very distressing for your nervous system by
Yeah,
itself.
it's all.
Yeah, yeah,
And I believe this the role of the community. We need to think about it to build communities around
yeah,
that can support each other.
yeah.
Like not only online forums, but
Work,
physical. I think people are
yeah.
afraid as well to quit their. They say, "Oh, if
If
something
I
I
quit, I
hear
will
a lot."
fail with my business, with my life, with my partner, with my kids. And sometimes they just cannot accept the reality, and that they have to. They most likely they will be debilitated for the next few months or maybe few years, and of course. But in the long run, I think this is the only way to go, because if the longer you take the meds, the more damage you become. And
Yeah, but I get this a lot. The other day I was post a video about lithium and
Mhm.
about ketchuping, and people comment things like this. So okay, so this is awful, but then what should I take then?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I experienced the same. They still looking for quick fixes. What's the next
yes,
quick fix I can use to ease my symptoms? And when I
and
say,
people they say, oh, okay, eat healthy. Come on, like
yeah,
we have something that is very technological, and there are so many research. Then
of
so
course,
the power of the pill. And if you say eat healthy,
yeah,
get
and there
some
is a power of diabetes and eating shit. Yeah, of course. And if you get like inflammation from eating junk food, you feel like shit. Like what you eat is how you feel, basic. And people just like only those who came to the wall and they just cannot proceed with their life anymore, they say, okay, I will listen to you, I will apply. But otherwise they're still looking like, can I take this, can I take this? And on top of that you have kindling effect when you take something and you get paradoxical reaction because your nervous system is so destabilized. And like I say, okay, fine, you want to experiment, go ahead, but don't blame me if you have any consequences. And I hear, I crashed from magnesium, I crashed from lithium, I crashed from something else. And it's it's challenging because you see the pain, you see that they are suffering like 10 out of 10, and you want to help them, of course. But the realization that it's going to take a lot of months to recover from it, it's devastating, and it's unacceptable for anyone to go through this. But I myself included, like this is the only way to go, I believe. Like there is no quick fix. We already were looking for quick fixes, and we end up in psych meds and protracted.
yeah, usually people who went through a protracted withdrawal, I always listen to people saying this was the most difficult thing I went through in my life.
Yes.
And I think it's awful. It's but there I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a positive side in like you get some willpower from it, like some experience from
Post-traumatic
it.
growth, it's called
Say,
post-traumatic growth. And yes, I and this is what I'm saying to everyone, that you will feel like a better version of yourself once you overcome the mental holocaust of protracted. And right now,
yeah, you
there is
say like
nothing that
if
can
I can
challenge
make
me.
this, I can make anything.
Come again, sorry.
If I can make this, if I went through this, I can make anything.
Yes, of
Nothing's
course,
gonna
you will
stop.
still will be challenged by life itself with all the difficulties, but it's nothing to compare the state that you were like a few years back. And it puts a new perspective for life, and you get different, perspective for things that bothered you before. So it taught me a lot, but I don't wish, like, if I could experience this once again just to get this, let's say, benefits, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
But yeah, but I agree, you have to grasp from this experience and implement some positive aspects from this to your life.
and
I
that's
remember because I also had podcast with Whitaker, and he also I believe he told me that he was in Brazil, and you were like 20 years USA is like 20 years ahead of you. The same applies to Poland and other, like, countries like Slovakia, like Poland. And he was mentioning about Brazil, about, I don't know, Czech Republic.
Yeah,
So
and I think people like you and me, we have this role to perform, because we are maybe not the first, but the one
so
of the
it
few
was
one
nice meeting you, Fernando, and thank you for joining my podcast. I think it was a very valuable conversation that we had, and hopefully we can help other sufferers around the world with our with spreading awareness about psychiatric meds. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. It was great. It's very good to get in touch with people who are in a very far
yeah,
place, doing the same thing, trying to do the facing the same challenges,
yes,
and that's
yeah.
invigorating.
It was great to connect with you